Hello guys, thank you for watching. Basically I'm not even really sure what this channel is going to be yet, but I thought I would document a few of my experiences like at shows and with music, and just stuff like that, so that I could remember it, and if you guys are interested so that you guys can listen. And that's it. Thank you for watching. I remember getting into metal when I was sometime in 9th grade. I remember I was probably like 13, and I was walking home from school, and I had my iPod on shuffle, and I had a lot of songs that were my songs, but I also had a lot of songs that my friends had put into my iPod, so it was just like a big mix of a lot of music. And at that point I was into some like rock, like little bit of metal, but not quite so much how I grew into it. And I remember getting home and Judas Priest's All Guns Blazing started playing, and it was like the coolest thing I'd ever heard, and I was like, what is this? Like, it sounded so cool, and I felt like so awesome. I felt like I could, like, it's so powerful, like when I was listening to that song. And I was like, well, like, I started looking more into that kind of music, and I found a lot of bands like Iron Maiden and like Megadeth, Creator, Children of Bottom was there, and so that's how I got into metal. I remember in the beginning getting very into Pantera too. So like my main bands at that point were Iron Maiden and Pantera and probably Megadeth, which ended up being my favorite band ultimately. So the first show that I ever went to was Iron Maiden, and I went to the Final Frontier tour, which I think was in 2013. It was the summer after my 9th grade year, and I was so excited because it was like my first concert, and it was Iron Maiden, which was like huge. And I was like so into them at the time, so it was like the best thing. I think I got the tickets for my 13th birthday or something like that. So I got to the show, and I didn't know what to expect because I'd never been to a show before. And so we got there, and there was like so many metalheads, and I felt so out of place because I was like just getting into metal. So I felt like everyone was judging me, like everyone was like, oh, she doesn't belong here, she's not into metal, like, and I felt like that for a long time, even after I legitimately was like listening to metal nonstop for a couple years. I felt like everybody thought like I didn't actually like I just wanted to be a part of the scene, and it wasn't true because I was really into all the music. And I think I stopped feeling that way like probably like 1 or 2 years ago, which is I've been listening to metal now for like 6 or 7 years. So I think it's kind of weird that like our scene kind of does that, like and I think without meaning to, like, you do judge a lot of people, and you think that they're just there for the image, which may be true, but ultimately like it doesn't really matter. Like, you shouldn't care. You should care why you're there. Like, you should be there for the music, and if anyone else is there for any different reason, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, back to the Maiden show. I got there, and there was like all these metalheads, and I thought it was the coolest thing, and everyone had their like denim vests with all the patches, and I think that was one of the first times that I saw that, and I thought it was like the coolest thing, and I just wished I had one. And then so we lined up, and we finally got into the venue. It was like super packed. I saw them in San Bernardino, and there was just like a shit ton of people, and like I was not like too far back, because it was like, let's say like it was like the orchestra section, which is like where the pit was, and then behind that there was a couple seats, and then behind that there was more seats, which is where I was, and then behind us there was a few more seats, and then it was like the whole lawn area, which got super packed. I don't even think they saw anything. Like, it was so fucking far back, and there were so many people. And then I think Dream Theater opened, and I'd never even heard of Dream Theater, and but they were pretty cool, so they opened for Maiden, and then Maiden came on, and Bruce Dickinson was like running everywhere, and he was jumping everywhere, and I thought it was like the coolest thing, because when I told like some teachers or something, I remember telling like some older people that I was gonna go see Maiden, and they were like, "Oh, what are you gonna go see? Like they're so old, they're gonna be in wheelchairs." And I was like, "No, it's gonna be cool." And so when we got to the show and Bruce started singing and he started like jumping everywhere, it was like the coolest thing. And they played like a couple of my favorite songs. They played some songs that I hadn't heard yet, and I fell in love with them like at that moment. And like the coolest, one of my favorite parts of the shows was that they would bring out so many props. Like they brought out like this huge Eddie, like the new one that they have now, that was on the Final Frontier cover, and they brought out for Number of the Beast like this big devil like thing that was just like moving everywhere. And it was so exciting, and it was like just the best time. And I remember it ended and I was like, I wish I could just stay here forever, which is what you think at the end of, I think, most shows, but like it was especially true for Maiden. And I remember wanting to go back to that show like weeks after it happened. I was like, I wish I was at the Maiden show again. That was one of the coolest things, and I'm glad I got to see them.